Hey, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome for joining us to the Succession Planning for Professionals. Wanted to introduce our amazing speaker, Tammatha. Take it off.
Ah, you're a sweetheart, Leah. I love you. Can everybody hear me just fine? I just want to make sure that our sound is good. Just doing a bit of a sound check. Can you make a note in the chat if there's a problem? Thumbs up from everyone.
I think we're all good.
I think we're good to go. Okay, then. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you for making the decision to join us here for this next webinar in the Business Builder series. I want to start out by saying that there is a life cycle to every business: birth, growth, stabilization, and then the retirement or the death of a business. At the end of the life cycle, our general expectation is not to walk away, but to recoup the lifeblood we have invested and earn a profit from that. Cloud-based accounting, tax planning services, these types of business owners have the same expectations as their non-cloud-based counterparts. There are one or two advantages though, and we're here to talk about that subject today. So today, it's about succession planning for the professional. Before we get started though, I want to take a minute to introduce your speaker, which happens to be me. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Tammatha Denyes, and I'm the owner and CEO of TD Accounting Services. We are physically located in beautiful downtown Sterling, which is north of Belleville, but we virtually service our customers both internationally and across Canada. QuickBooks Online is our platform of choice, and we have been implementing this across our client base, along with other applications that integrate beautifully with that platform. I am not one to toot my own horn, generally speaking, but I'm going to take a minute to do so right now. I am a certified professional bookkeeper with the Institute of Professional Bookkeepers of Canada, and I am on my second year of the board of directors. My team and I are strong supporters of education and mentorship. We focus on training both professionals and end users on not only how to utilize QuickBooks Online, but the platforms and other applications that work and integrate with that platform. But not only that, we volunteer our time as a team to the futurepreneurs of our industries and others in our small communities. Personally, I'm a golfer. I have 2 holes in 1, and yes, you can ask that. You can ask me about that when you see me at QBC Toronto, but I must have the worst handicap I've ever seen. I'm proud to say that I am a founding member of the Startup Canada Quinte West chapter, and our customers call me their financial coaching strategist and their bookkeeper. This year, I have been proudly recognized as one of the top 100 pro advisors in North America, and just recently, one of Canada's Firm of the Future runner-ups. So now that you know a little bit about me, let's review some housekeeping before we get started. So one of the first things I want you to know about is that all participants are muted. This gives us an opportunity to share with you all of the information that we feel is valuable for you that you can take away from this webinar. Secondly, this webinar is recorded. So I'm sure that if you request, or it will be sent to you, a copy. Third, we love questions. As a matter of fact, we want questions. But I am going to ask that you leave them to the end because unfortunately I get all flustered when I see them come up and I'll probably get lost, and this will become like the worst webinar ever. Finally, I'd like it if you would sit back and enjoy. I'm going to be throwing a lot of information out on the table, and I'm hoping there'll be a number of takeaways for you, but there's a lot of information coming, and I just take time and record your notes and get back to me later. Okay? But I do want to talk about the agenda, and that is as follows. Succession planning can be a very focused and detailed topic, and I've broken it down into 4 different steps: visualization, identification, building, and monitoring. I'm going to leave time at the end for questions, and let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to ask, or I'm going to poll you, is on the following question. Have you ever considered succession planning as part of your business plan of action? Oh, wow. So 45% of you, 62%, 72% of you have voted. Another few more seconds. And our poll is closed. So 74% of you have considered succession planning as part of your plan of action. And that's good. I mean, we didn't all get into business just to close it down when we were done, right? So let's talk about succession planning. What is succession planning? Do you know what the definition is? Well, I personally had to look the definition up myself. And the definition that Wikipedia gives us is that succession planning is a process for identifying and developing new leaders who can replace old leaders when they leave or retire. In business, succession planning entails developing internal people with the potential to fill key business leadership positions within the company. So thank you, Wikipedia. That is a pretty easy definition to understand. But how can we take that definition and apply it to a cloud-based firm? Is there really any difference between a cloud-based firm and a traditionally structured firm as we used to know it? So walk with me. I tell a lot of stories. Traditionally, in a traditionally based firm, we would get into our car, we would drive to work, pour yourself a cup of coffee, have a chat around the water cooler with colleagues, and then you would sit down and start your day. In some cloud-based organizations, mine included, the structure is very much the same, excluding one of the biggest factors. We don't drive to work. Now, we do have a physical office, but half of our staff works from home, the other half comes into the office, so there's always a body in the building. We still sit down and pour ourselves a cup of coffee when we're home. We still have that conversation around the water cooler, except this time it's virtual. We use Slack. And then we plug in, we start our day, and we get done what needs to get done for our customers. Some people may feel that this change affects how you plan for succession. And personally, I disagree. And I only have one reason for it. At the end of the day, a traditionally structured business, in essence, is really no different than a cloud-based business. We are looking to get out of the game at the end, and we need to have a plan in place to do so. So, why is succession plan important? There are 6 main benefits to a good succession plan. First, it ensures qualified people take over. So here's the thing. And I'm going to be, like I said, telling some stories here. If something were to happen to yourself, if you're a solopreneur, if you are a larger based organization, you need to make sure that there's qualified people in place for when you retire, when you become ill, when you decide to step down, when the board of directors dismisses you. Some of us don't have that, but I'm having fun there. Another reason why succession planning is important is it allows us to have a continuing supply of qualified, motivated people to move up in our business. They take over for us that are retiring and stepping down. Thirdly, it shows that there's an alignment between the vision of your company and your human resources department. Now, there's many different sizes of cloud-based businesses. There could be a solopreneur with 2 part-timers. It could be a solopreneur with a staff of 10. It could be a corporation with a couple of managers and some subcontractors. It doesn't really matter. You have a vision, and your human resources department, whether that be you or someone else, there should be an alignment there. This vision needs to be passed down to the people underneath you that are coming up. Fourth, it informs your team that you're committed to them. You are developing career paths for them. You're giving them the training that they need to move up in the company, that you actually trust in them to do what it is your vision entailed when you started this company. Fifth, your business gets a reputation for investing in the people that you work with, providing them with those opportunities for advancement. And lastly, and this one to me is the most important, you're sending a message to your team. And that message is that they are valuable enough to invest in. I do want to point out that if you do not have a succession plan in place, you might be weakening your business and its sustainability. Now, I'm not trying to throw out some bad eggs here, but without a succession plan process, an organization may not have the means of continuing in business. This is why it's really important and is quite crucial. So I'm going to share a couple of different scenarios with you, a couple of different stories, and I'm hoping that one of them resonates. So let's pretend a mid-size art company has an employee that organizes, maintains, manages, supervises a huge major fundraising event. It's a nonprofit organization. This employee has been doing it for a number of years. They've spent a lot of time, a lot of focus, a lot of effort in creating this fundraising event, and it goes off without a hitch. All of a sudden, this employee retires, steps down. At the end of the day, maybe they've been offered a position somewhere else. Doesn't matter. They're no longer going to be with the art company. The rest of the team realizes that they know very little about how this event has been run in the past. And this event, like I said, major fundraising opportunity. There was no manual created. There was no information shared between this employee and other members of the team. No workflows documented. And no one was prepared to step up. What ends up happening? This major event that made a lot of money for this art company was abandoned because no one knew how to run it. And the person who did know how to run it is no longer there. I've got another scenario for you to consider. And this one might hit home a little bit more with some of us. A father builds a business. He has a dream. He starts it, he's a solopreneur. He puts blood, sweat, and tears into his business. He still raises his family. He still goes to Little League with his kids. He still goes to church. He does all the things a father's supposed to do. Leaves generally a healthy, happy life. Then one day out of the blue, something happens. He's not feeling very well. An ambulance is called, and he's rushed to the hospital. The doctors let him know that he's suffered, we'll say, a massive coronary, and now his abilities are limited. He has to change the way he has to live his life. He no longer has the ability to handle the day-to-day stresses of working in his business. What is he going to do? He's got choices now. He can either sell the business for a discounted price. He could possibly, hopefully, find a vendor who's willing to purchase it at market value. He could promote a family member into leadership and pray that this person has the skills to do the job. Or he could promote an employee from within and weather the storm if that person wasn't prepared to step up. These are two different stories with two different outcomes. In either case, a succession plan would have ensured that there were qualified and motivated employees who were able to take over when they were needed. At the very least, a succession plan shows that there is a methodology in place. Sorry, stumbling over my own tongue. It shows clients, it shows financiers, employees, volunteers, the business community as a whole, that this business is committed and able to provide excellent services at all times, including times of transition. It's about putting a plan into place so that emergencies are easily handled, even if they occur. So let's talk about the steps needed to prepare a successful succession plan. I have narrowed it down to 4 steps. The first thing you need to do is visualize what your succession plan is going to look like. What's your vision? What do you see when you are ready to retire or stop doing what it is that you're doing today? Do you visualize a large company with many levels of managers, a board of directors, an incorporation? Or is it a simple structure of boss/owner, a manager, a couple of employees, maybe a couple of subcontractors? That is visualizing. What is it that you're going to end up with? The next step is to identify not only the key critical positions in your company, but the key talents of those positions, because those are the positions that need to be filled with the proper people. As a business owner, you want your success to hinge on putting the right people in the right place at the right time. Once those steps are completed, you can now start assessing potential successors to fulfill those roles. And whether you have them on staff or not, you still have to go and find them. Step 3 is building and implementing. In reality, this really should be the easiest part of it, but it's not. I'm going to show you there's greater detail on what a succession plan actually means, but for now, we'll just grace over this. The last step is monitoring. You want to keep your plan on track, and you need to monitor it. And that can stem from, seeing how your employees are doing surveys with your employees. You have to know that your plan is viable and that you have the opportunity to pivot if needed so that this succession plan is successful when you're ready to implement it. So let's start with the first one, visualization. It starts with understanding your company's vision and mission statement along with the growth plan. So I don't know about you, but I want to focus on what I know. And I want to look at my forecasting tools that I already live by, which is my strategic plan and a detailed budget forecast. A strategic plan identifies an organization's vision statement, mission statement, and values. So vision statement and mission statement, 2 different things, 2 different animals. If you haven't sat down and decided what that is for yourself, it is a bit of a stretch to do, but it's worth the time. They're vital elements in determining your future needs. They indicate where your company intends on heading, and that's important for you to create your succession plan. It's like an insight on the growth, what your services are going to be, who you're targeting. This is what your vision gives to you. This is where your mission is going to lead you, the values that you actually stand by in your company. A detailed budget forecast. Well, we're all bookkeepers, accountants, and professionals. We know what a budget forecast looks like. But something that this brings to this particular planning session is where we're spending our money, where we're projecting our money to be spent, what projects will be funded, where we're going to invest, whether that be in talent, employees, whether that be in a new division. But a detailed budget forecast is important, and this is going to help us visualize where we need to go. Another component of visualization, I cannot speak today, I'm so sorry guys, is creating your organizational chart. Now, for some of us, that could be really simple. Boss, subcontractor. Boss, 2 subcontractors. It might be a little bit more complicated. It could be boss owner, 2 staff members, and a subcontractor. Or it can be even more larger than that. I could go on and on. But at the end of the day, you need to know what your organizational chart is potentially going to be today and in the future. So if I'm looking at a succession plan today for my organization, I'm looking at an organization of 5 people with an expectation of growth to 10 plus next year. What do those positions look like? What are the jobs that I'm expecting from those positions? Sitting down and creating this organizational chart will help me differentiate what skill sets I need, what talents I need to focus on, what seats I need to fill in that organizational chart. And how am I going to do it? I can color code, and I can color code it based on the type of position, or I can color code it based on what's currently filled, what needs to be filled, what do I expect is becoming vacant, even though I'm not a mind reader or a crystal ball reader. I can still say, okay, maybe this position is going to be vacant in the next 6 months. I want to be able to sit down and see what it is I have to work with so that I can carry forward onto the next step. And what's the next step? Identifying. The identification stage starts with an inventory of existing skill sets for my existing employees. What does each employee bring to the table? That is going to help me know what I have to work with. I need to know what I already have in-house so that I can fill the gaps for what I don't have. Someone told me one day, and I think it was the best piece of advice I ever received. Hire for what you're not good at. I could say the same for an organizational chart. I'm good at marketing. I'm good at analytics. I have a manager that's fantastic at reconciliation and client relationships. But what am I missing from this? So these are things that I want to identify. You can do this fairly straightforward. You can have employees fill out simple evaluations. So again, let's go and look at the different sizes of organizations in our organizations, in our different businesses. There could be you and 2 subcontractors. Have them fill out a self-evaluation, a self-assessment, and then you assess them based on what you feel they're good at, what their skill sets are. Rank them. If you have a manager, have them, the manager, do it for you. This gives you a baseline that you can refer to when it comes time to actually implementing your succession plan. Your next step is to evaluate your employees and what their future potential could be. So some employees know what they want to do. They know what they want to work on. They know where they want to go in life. Well, sometimes what they want to do and what is practical for the organization doesn't always mesh. So evaluating what your employees or what they want to do is an important step also. Knowing their current skills, what motivates them, knowing what their abilities are for adoption and growth is going to help you for the next stage. Talk to your employees directly. Ask them what they want to do. Ask them where they want to go. Ask them where their growth potential is. Ask them what their aspirations are. These people are your team. They can help you in this series of steps. Sometimes people feel really uncomfortable having this conversation in an open forum. This is where an open door policy can come into effect and have them speak privately to you. A simple question of asking them where they picture themselves inside of your company may just be the question that leads this conversation and helps them come out of their shell a little bit more. Do they see themselves in the same type of role and just getting promoted? Maybe they're doing data entry and see themselves as a marketeer. You never know. The only way you're going to find out is by asking the questions. Having this honest conversation will help both of you in a realistic way for not only their futures, but your company's too. So now let's talk about a situation where maybe you have more than just 2 or 3 staff members. Possibly you have a manager team situation. What if one of those team members was showing a significant amount of potential and the manager wasn't? And you see what this team member can do, and you feel that this team member is going to not only be valuable in a different position, but is going to be promoted over and above their manager. Not always a fun situation. It's a little bit touchy, but you shouldn't let that stop you. Have a frank discussion with your manager and explain what you're doing and why you're doing it. The reason this team member is being promoted is because they've shown that they have the necessary skill set. They've shown that they're successful in what they've done. They've shown initiative, whereas maybe the manager hasn't done so. You wouldn't be promoting them over and above the manager if they didn't show those types of characteristics. So talk to your employees. Identify what critical positions need to be filled. Identify what those positions look like, and then sit down and look at your internal talent pool. If you don't have the people to fulfill those positions, now you have an idea of who you need to hire or what type of recruitment you need to do so that you can go on to the next stage. Now, the next stage is building and implementing. Focusing on your current employees. As you can see, promoting from within. Well, in theory, again, easy step. But sometimes it's not as easy as it looks. So personally, I've been in this situation where I have a bunch of team members. We're currently growing, and I need to promote someone to a managerial level. Everyone seems to have the skill set or is comfortable making decisions, but a manager oversees the team. Do I have someone in place for that? Do I have a member of my team in mind that could fulfill that role? I do, but is that person ready? Do they require training? What about coaching? So this is where investing in these types of leadership skills, coaching programs, leadership opportunities will help them when it's time for them to move up into that managerial role. And yes, I have to invest in that. I've decided that. Step 2 is to work out the positions that are vacant or could possibly become vacant, right? So you need to fill those roles. I've promoted. I now have this vacancy in the team. What am I going to do? Do I go to the nearest job bank and hire the first person that walks in the door? As we all know, that's not going to happen. Do I go out and I have a hiring system that I run these possible employees through to make sure that they're a good fit? Yeah, that's an option. Do I also run on the adage that I hire for personality because I can train you to do anything within reason? Yes, I do that too. So finding and filling those possible vacancies or have a plan to do so is going to be really important. Lastly, training and continuing education. Just because I have someone who's in a managerial position today doesn't mean that person's going to hang around for the next 20 years. Now, I happen to want to hang around, but that doesn't mean they're not going to get a job opportunity. That doesn't mean that they're going to want to retire because maybe they're older than I am. Maybe they've been offered a fantastic opportunity and they can't say no, and I can't counter them with an offer. I need to have someone that can step up into that position. So this is where training and continuing education across the board for all of my team members is going to become critical. Because when that position is emptied, that person steps aside, retires, whatever, if I don't have someone to fulfill that role, I'm now kind of stuck, and that's not going to help my succession planning, right? The next step is monitoring. It's monitoring. I need to monitor what I've done. And trust me, guys, even though we're almost at the end of this and we're almost at the final steps, this is really, really important. This is your opportunity to pivot when you need to. You have a variety of tools you can use for monitoring. You have a whole toolbox. You can sit and use job rotation. Let's say, for instance, you've got someone who's walked in the door. I'm actually going through this right now. You have an employee who's coming through the door. They are fantastic at data entry, answering the phones, being able to do the day-to-day stuff. But that person is really showing an acumen for taxes and numbers and spreadsheets. Well, do I really want them to sit in a position of menial administrative duties? No. I want some job rotation. I want that person to move into a position where they're going to excel, and I'm showing them that I, one, have faith and trust in them, but two, that I'm willing to invest time, money, and energy into them. So that's one of the things that's in my toolbox is job rotation. I could also assign special projects. And this is going to allow me to test what skill sets people have that they don't even realize that they have. A special project, like for example, I need you to sit and analyze. I need you to sit and look at this customer and tell me what you think is best. Now, I'm oversimplifying here, but you're getting what I'm saying. These are things that I can do to help me understand my employee better, which in turn is going to help my business. Don't forget to hold your employees accountable. I actually have this written down. Don't forget to hold your people accountable. If you sit down and you customize timelines for each position, these are your expectations. And as much as we like our employees, we're still the boss. We are still the one who creates the paycheck and pays you to work here 40, 80 hours a week. I want to make sure that your performance is on track for that position. If I'm getting that gut feeling that this isn't working out, that's not a good shot. That's not where this should be. I need to know internally, or the manager needs to know internally, that this employee is on track in the position based on the performance that we've outlined. Now, who's the we? In this case, it's me. I talked about pivoting a little earlier, and pivoting is important too. As you're monitoring the situation, possibly you may realize that something's not fitting right. You're getting that feeling in your chest, and that feeling's telling you that this person just really isn't the right fit for this job. Pivot on the spot. Put that person in another position if you happen to have one open. Lay that person off. Downgrade their skills. Maybe you downgrade them. At the end of the day, being able to pivot quickly is going to be important. It's not a fun situation to have to let someone go because they're not a good fit and you made perhaps a judgment error, but you have to be willing to do that in this situation. Something else you've got. in a monitoring functionality is dry runs. Here's something that's not, I'm going to say straightforward, but if you as a manager are going on vacation and you have a subordinate, a team member that has the capability of fulfilling your managerial role for 2 weeks, step them up. See what they do with it. I mean, it's not like you haven't created workflows and a very detailed job description by this point. This gives you an opportunity to find out if that person could actually move up in the ranks. This is where dry runs can be really crucial. I can sit down and decide, you know what, maybe employee A would make a great manager. Let's test it. Manager's going on vacation for 2 weeks, let's step them up. And I realize at the end of day 3, this person is not going to work. It's only 2 weeks. Step them back down to their job and get through the mud. But you also need to continuously evaluate. And this is the thing. Everybody's lives changes. Every employee, every manager, every person, including yourself. Continuously evaluating not only your succession plan, but your employees, the job descriptions, your business will allow you to not only monitor what's going on, but allows you to change as you see fit. And now I have another poll question for you. Who is now considering a succession plan as a result of this webinar? Interesting. Another few more seconds, and we're going to close this down. Okay, poll is now closed. 57%, something I need to review further. I completely agree. I didn't realize that I needed a succession plan until very, very recently. It's something that has not only been on my radar, but we're investigating and making sure that we have the proper steps in place so that this business is an ongoing, viable concern going forward. So guys, that, my friends, is 6 minutes early, so we're almost done here. I just want to summarize a little bit here. Succession planning. First thing, proactive. Take time, prepare, and make sure that your candidate is ready for any leadership roles. Don't dawdle. You need to focus on each person individually and where they may or may not fit in your organizational chart. If they're not a fit, move them somewhere else. Pivot them. Move them sideways. Doesn't matter. You're trying to fill these roles so that your business is viable going forward. You have a vision and other people see you outside of your organization. You don't want them to see you stumbling. They want to see a secure environment so that there's trust in you. You're offering accounting services. You're offering tax services. They don't want to feel that they're investing their time, money, and energy in something that's going to fall and stumble. Keep an open mind. This is really, really important, okay? Just because someone's in a managerial position today doesn't mean they're going to be a good fit tomorrow. Something might happen, okay? You need to communicate your vision. So I talk about vision a lot, but your vision, your mission statement is one thing, but your vision is a broader picture of what you're looking for. If you're not communicating this to your team, how can you get buy-in? How can you get buy-back from them? This communication skill is important. Communicate it to your team. Do it during a meeting. Post it on your wall. Paint it on your wall. It doesn't matter. Communicating it is important. Continuously evaluate your team. Continuously evaluate your plan, just like you would anything else in your business. Offer regular feedback. You know what? Not everybody's perfect. Maybe somebody's having a bad week, month, or year. But giving the feedback that they need is only going to improve them, and in turn is going to improve what you have. Lastly, to me, the most important part of this is provide training. And it could be as simple as some leadership webinars. It could be as simple as going to your Chamber of Commerce, and like I did, we had Small Business Week. I told my team to go and attend this women's event. I run a fully women's office. Attend this women's event so that they could, one, connect with others in the industry, two, allow them to focus on growth and learning. And yeah, I stayed back and watched The Office. It was great. I provided them with free training that was offered to them, and they in turn have brought back other training opportunities that we are now going to pay for them to do. So that, my friends, is succession planning. And I'm going to open up the floor to any possible questions, which I will do my very best to answer. I make no promises. And let's see what you have for me. Are we a quiet bunch today, or is this just a slow connection on my part? How is George? Arden, I love you. George is doing fine. So George had, for those of you that don't know, George is my stuffed monkey who is our Chief Mischief Officer of TD Accounting Services. He flew down to San Jose with me and decided he needed to go on a journey of his own. So he went for a walk without me. And I panicked and went looking for him, and this homeless man brought him back to me. It was an amazing experience, and George is writing a story about it. So don't ask questions you're afraid to get answers to. Now, let's see here. Do you share your plan with the team in detail, or do you keep to the vision discussions? I'm an open book. I'm not going to lie. I share with my team. So in our organization, when one succeeds, we all succeed. If one of us has a failure, we all fail together. There's no I in team, so we all share regardless. The team, surprisingly enough, in my case, has stood behind me in this vision and has gone through some rough times with me, but they are in it for the long haul. I've got young students that are fresh out of school. I've got people that are a little older, and all of them are very supportive and are growing with us. There is one member of our team that I am contemplating on turning into a manager, and we are investing heavily monetarily to give her the leadership skills that she needs, because our team will be growing exponentially in the next little while. What kinds of pricing are you seeing in terms of people selling their practice? Okay, so interestingly enough, I'm in the process of doing an acquisition right now. And is it dollar for dollar? That depends. We are looking at a desktop business at this time. And because we are cloud-based, we are not offering dollar for dollar. Surprising to some, not surprising to others. The technology that we have and that we're using today is making us faster, it's making us more efficient. And when I'm looking at a business that has a potential of gross revenues of, we'll say, $750,000, they have 20 members on staff. I look at my organization that is running with 5 people, and we're making, 33% less. I see a lot of room for improvement in the acquisition. So I'm seeing that as, a decrease in cost or a decrease in value for me. So how does that work out? It works out that I'm not offering dollar for dollar. Now, That all being said, is that being accepted? So far, it seems to be. Who here is completely 100% cloud-based? Okay, Teresa, you are great, 100%. Anyone else? 50-50, 60-40, 70-30. These are things you need to take into consideration when you're looking at your succession planning. The more cloud-based you are, the better value you're going to get if you decide to sell. So I know for a fact there's a number of professionals that I associate with that are in the acquisition game at this time. And the more cloud-based you are, if they are cloud-based, the more value you offer. This is something that we look at too in this acquisition and further acquisitions that we're going to do. So, any more questions? All right. So I'm going to assume that there isn't, and I'm going to put this out there to all of you that have attended. I am open to having individual communications with you. You are welcome to reach out to me at any time. Acquisitions, succession planning is one of the things that I actually enjoy spending time on, surprisingly enough. And I don't mind sharing any information that I have. I also don't mind sharing ideas. Oh, Teresa, you are such a gem. Thank you. So I am going to say thank you very much for all of you that have attended today. I appreciate that you've taken time from your lunch. It is now almost 2 o'clock, so depending on what time zone you are in. I do want to point out that QuickBooks Connect Toronto is just around the corner. I'm very excited to say that we will be attending. When I say we, I don't mean just George and I mean my team. If you haven't already gotten a ticket, reach out to your account rep. They do have discount codes. It's an awesome opportunity, not only for collaboration, it's so much information that you can take back to and implement within your firms. I have never once been sorry that I've ever attended a QuickBooks Connect event because I'm always bringing back something that I can apply that makes me a stronger, better business, not only for my community, but for me too. So there's my spiel, there's my push for QuickBooks Connect. And the next webinar, I cannot speak, I need more coffee. The next webinar coming up is on December the 10th, and it is building your advisory services. So thank you so much. I hope to see you there.